This is the most important thing to me, is to look at who's losing. Because people do win through high immigration, but if the people who are losing are the people who have the least to lose, we really ought to take a major look at that. And that's what Barbara Jordan said.
The Commission has concluded that a properly regulated system of legal immigration is in the national interest of the United States. When immigrants are less well educated and less skilled, they may pose economic hardships for the most vulnerable of Americans.
If she had been victorious in the 1990s in the legislation she had recommended, we'd be living in such a different country today.
Yeah.
I mean, in so many ways, but especially we would not have anything like this income disparity. I don't believe we would. And I don't believe that we would have so much kind of racial tension and kind of nonsense in a way, parts of it. And I'll say, and the reason is, she proposed as chair of a bipartisan joint congressional presidential commission, 1996, reductions in legal immigration back to where they were in the 80s. Not something wild, but just back where they were in the 80s.
The most urgent immigration problem we face today is the unauthorized entry of hundreds of thousands of illegals. That undermines our commitment to legal immigration.
So you could say she was kind of an American first person before Trump. Now she was a little different than Trump because she was a woman, she was black, she was liberal, she was Democratic.
Yeah.
She came from a very poor background in Houston, but the boomers know that she exploded on the scene in the TV proceedings of the Watergate. And she went on, as she was a congresswoman, she was the first descendant of slavery to give the address at a presidential convention. She gave it for Carter, and she gave it for Clinton. So an incredibly important person in Black American history, for sure. And then Clinton nominated her, or chose her, to head this immigration commission. That commission made recommendations, and as I said at the beginning, those recommendations would have really transformed who we are today in America.
What was her primary justifications for wanting to radically reduce immigration?
Tightening the labor market. That was her top issue. That the increases of the 1990 Congress had so inflated the labor supply that the people, particularly at the bottom, just were having a horrible time. And she was not, so she wanted to reduce immigration from, in the 90s it ran about 1 million a year, which is basically what it's run legally ever since. And her recommendations would have brought it down to about 550,000. I just want to put that into some perspective. Before 1965, when mass immigration was restarted, immigration was running between 200 and 300,000 a year. By the 80s, it was about 500,000 a year. And in 1990, boosted it up. She wanted to take it back about halfway. And to take it back to where it had been before 1965, which was more merit-based, not so family-based. The number one way she would have reduced immigration was to end chain migration